This is my Tacoma. This is the Tacomaholic YouTube channel. And this is some sweet vinyl wrap that I found I'm gonna use to show you guys a quick interior vinyl wrap tutorial. Welcome back to the Tacomaholic channel, everybody. If this is your first time stopping by and you love all kinds of Tacoma related content, go ahead and subscribe now. And if you enjoy little mini painting and vinyl wrap how-to tutorial videos like this one, check out the playlist linked right above. Now today I will be using this wrap specifically to tackle a rather easy interior project, and that will be the AC panel that is flat and it surrounds your AC knob controls. Figured that'd be a good place to start before I try to tackle more advanced projects. And the sun just poked out, so here is a quick shot of the vinyl wrap. It is textured with like a honeycomb finish, and this feels like a refresh of the carbon fiber look, if you will. I found this stuff just while searching around Amazon. They have different size rolls. This is a 1 foot wide by 5 foot long. Should give me plenty of vinyl to do some fun interior wrapping projects for the Tacoma. Now, in addition to the vinyl wrap of your choice, of course, if you're going to be doing what I'm going to be doing, you may or may not need a heat gun for this application. I have one, haven't used it for this. It was relatively easy. You will need either an X-Acto knife or some kind of razor blade, and an assortment of trim tools, specifically like the paddles for vinyl wrap. Definitely recommend getting one with the felt covering right here, since if you're just using the plastic on the vinyl, it does run the risk of scratching it. If you do need any of these tools, they are all linked in the description below. And I did recently start a new Facebook group called Tacomaholic's Amazon Gems. I'll put a link for that in the description below as well. I post daily updates on that group where you guys can see a ton of savings in Tacoma products, tools, and related stuff like camping, hiking, outdoor stuff, you name it. Check out the link below. Here is my AC panel right here, and while it is looking pretty sweet with my AJT design knobs, I think we can make it look a little bit better. If you guys have never removed this before, don't worry, it's just a few simple steps to get this popped out. Step 1, doesn't matter what kind of knobs you have, these should just pull right out, so go ahead and remove all 3 of the knobs. For the next step, just go ahead and grab one of your trim removal tools with the angled end and just get it up under here. This should pop out relatively easily. Once you get one side, the whole thing just sort of pops, and then you can sort of get your fingers under there, maybe one on each side, and you can see it sort of pulls right out. And since the knobs are out right there, you can sort of get your thumb in there, give yourself a little grip, and just pull it right out. Sounds loud, don't worry, nothing's gonna break. Then just remove the white plug on the left and the black plug on the right. Okay, actually recording on the inside of the house now, so I'm not really sure how the audio is gonna go with my GoPro, since I usually bring you guys videos outside with the truck. Here is the unit. Now you might ask yourself, this is going to be a pain in the ass to wrap because of all the little buttons you go around, since I am specifically wrapping the black smooth plastic right here, but don't worry. I discovered I'd never taken this apart before, but it does come off relatively easily, where this whole black piece will actually just lift off, giving you a nice flat surface. First step, once you flip it over, you will grab a Phillips head screwdriver. There are 2 bolts on either side, 1, 2, 3, 4, so go ahead and remove those. With the 4 screws removed, you will feel that this is pretty loose, but you are not quite out of the woods yet.
Be scared to live out in the big woods.
Go ahead and grab your small trim removal tool with the curved edge, and there are a few tabs you just need to lift up so the faceplate will come loose. On one side there are 2 right here and here, and on the opposite side there's actually 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. On the side with 4, if you just sort of start at one end, and it's pretty loose anyway, and just sort of seesaw it up like that until it pops free. Just make sure not to put too much pressure so it won't snap, and work yourself down the line. And you can see that side's loose, then just flip it over and do the same thing on the bottom side. These are pretty small tabs, so just be careful not to break them. And when you have all 6 of those tabs loose, you can see this faceplate right here comes right off. Just set the guts of the unit to the side, and this is what we're going to be working with today. And the next step, we want this mating surface to be as clean as possible so the vinyl adheres as strong and as well as possible. Go ahead and take some regular rubbing alcohol on a microfiber towel and wipe it clean. Alright, now the fun part really begins. You can see I have a piece pre-cut of the vinyl I'm going to be using. I just place this on it and overlap just a little bit. The vinyl is, of course, a little bit stretchy when you apply some heat to it, which we might use around some of these circles, but to start with, I am just going to remove the backing from the vinyl and put it so it's face down, and take this and I'm going to go ahead and affix it to the bottom like that. That should be a good way to get it started since the surface of this is relatively flat. That should give me a good baseline to get this thing going. Sort of just pressing to make sure it's giving me a good baseline to get started, and now I will flip it over and smooth out all of the flat areas. I like to start just using my fingers to get it sort of, I guess, like halfway pressed down. Then I'll use my felt tip paddle just to smooth everything out with a little more pressure. If you have one of these that does not have the felt tip, you do risk like scratching the finish of the vinyl, so I definitely recommend grabbing one of these. When you are doing this, a quick tip is just sort of like work from the middle and go out. That way you are more likely to push out any air bubbles. Something like this, it's relatively flat, not so much of an issue, but especially since we have all the holes to cut out anyway that we can work bubbles to, but just sort of start in the middle and work your way out. So like north, south, east, west, you get the idea. And around all the circles, I'm just sort of outlining that with my finger just to get that depressed around the edge. And when you're doing this first part, just to get it affixed to the flat part, if you have any trouble areas, you can take like your X-Acto knife and just sort of put little slits, like little crosses, right in the middle of the vinyl to give yourself a little relief from it pulling down on the edges. Just make it a little bit easier. Obviously don't go too near the edge because we do want that to overlap just a little bit. I don't know if this is oriented so this is the top and this is the bottom or vice versa, but one of these edges does have a nice like flatter surface. I'm going to try to get the vinyl on. So as I do that, I just want to make sure it's pulled extremely tight over that fold in the corner. The other end, it sort of terminates, so I'll just cut that maybe like 1/8 of an inch and sort of tuck that underneath. But on this other end, it looks like it's about 1/2 inch. You can see right there on the camera. So just make sure you pull it tight. Like I'm going to brace it back here with my thumb and then pull it tight and over. On the other side with my other thumb, all the way down the side. And at this point I'm ready to start getting rid of some of the excess, so on the corners I'm just going to sort of cut 45 degrees out from the center, just so I can sort of like move the side piece independently of the other one. Again, give yourself a little overlap from the corner, maybe like 1/8 of an inch at least, depending on what's there for the vinyl to stick to, but in this case it's not that much. And for this application anyway, this is all going to be tucked up in the center of your dash, so it's really not going to be too visible. So don't be super paranoid about like getting everything perfect here. It's just to get the material out of the way. And then once you get that, you can see I can sort of score this. Again, this is just plastic back here, not really too worried about scratching it. It's never going to be seen. I'll just score that about 1/8 of an inch down and then remove the piece. And then continue that concept for the other corners. Alright guys, here is the surface of the wrap coming along nicely. Obviously now the next step, just got to get rid of all these circular cuts in the middle, 3 big ones and then 2 small ones. I'm actually going to flip this over. I do have it just sitting on a regular kitchen cutting board, and since it looks like I can easily just push this stuff in and wrap it around, I'm just going to trace maybe about 3/16 or to a 1/4 of inch like cut on the inside of the vinyl right here, and then score it all around and then just fold it in, and that should be just about it. And I will start with one of the small ones right here so you can see what I'm talking about. Doesn't have to be perfect, just a rough circular cut. It's really getting rid of that excess material at this point. And now that the center's cut out, when you do these perpendicular score marks, you don't want to go all the way to the edge. You want to go, in this case, I don't know, maybe about halfway. So you still have plenty of room to fold it over without actually risking tearing it on the part where it's going to be visible. Again, doing this on the cutting board makes it easy so you're not fighting the vinyl. And then just flip it over. The vinyl is very stretchy and I can always use my heat gun, but I haven't really found the need to use it yet. And just push all of these down and fold them over so the adhesive on the back of the vinyl sticks to the back of the plastic. And remember, once you get all this installed, even if it's not like a complete circle, the button will actually fill in any discrepancies or any like sloppiness, so don't worry about it too much. And if you just sort of roll your finger in there to press it against the sides, that'll get it to stick. You can see right there, looks more like a hexagon or an octagon or something, but once that button's in there, it'll look fine. Alright guys, and here is the finished panel. Now before I get the other part of the panel back in there, the part with the switches that comes up from the bottom, just making sure I don't see any air bubbles. And to be honest, the fact that this wrap is textured, you can see right there, and the pattern on it's like a bunch of hexagons. Even if there was an air bubble, this would do a pretty good job of hiding it, and I think it looks pretty good. Gonna go ahead and get this put back together in the reverse process and show you the finished product. Alright guys, there is the finished product. I'm pumped with the way this turned out, relatively easy. I did have my AC button here. It was sticking just a little bit on the vinyl, so I just took a sharper point trim tool and just sort of run it around carefully, like slow and steady pressure. If you let this slip, it might scratch the vinyl, but just to sort of press it in there on the side to free up the button, but now you can see it doesn't get stuck at all. Same for the other side, so now time to get this back in the truck. And there's the new panel fully installed. I was trying to get an angle just right with the sunlight to get the light reflecting off it like the angels were singing. You can see it a little bit there, some of the texture popping out, that sweet honeycomb texture. But it's pretty overcast today, so that's not exactly working out. I did go ahead and take some extra vinyl wrap and do the center of the knobs, including my 4x4 knob over here. Didn't really film this because it was just too small a show, but you just overlap. Cut it out for the circle, and I took my thumbnail and sort of smoothed it in on the groove and cut around it, and then tucked it around this knob because that does sort of stick in the middle just a little bit. But very pleased with the way this turned out. Go ahead and comment below if you guys like these type of vinyl wrap mods and if you plan on doing this one specifically yourself. Alright everybody, that will do it for this video. If you found the video useful and enjoyed it, please consider giving it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe if you have not already. As always, thank you much for supporting the channel by watching this video. Enjoy your upcoming weekend, and I'll see you in the next video.